We're jumping to the Ravens versus the Bills. I have a lot to say on this. I have a lot.
I will get my piece out the way 'cause I know you have a lot more to say than I do. I think this was a very defensive game. The Ravens did a very good job in the first half of the game. And they also just did really good job in general because technically speaking, their offense only gave up really 10 points the whole game. If you want to get really even technical, the special teams technically only give the three. The defense only gave up technically seven. But it was really surprising that the Bills. I feel like they didn't play their sharpest game offensively. Josh Allen only had 206 yards passing, and I think one touchdown. And 100 of those 6 yards passing all went to Stephon Diggs. That also their run game was absolutely abysmal. They only had 32 rushing yards for the game. They actually had 220 yards total, while the Ravens had 340. So it kind of goes to show that their defense really did win them this game. The offense really just relied on that defense to really step it up, and they really did, and they did a really good job. And then for the Ravens side, for me, this was kind of like watching after the O line was really bad. I know you'll have a lot more to say about that and go into detail, but the O line was really bad. I felt like after Lamar got injured, it kind of made me realize that this team's offense is only good because of Lamar, and also made me feel like made me kind of think about how it is with the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. How Cliff Kingsbury, he makes that offense run on Kyler Murray's legs, and if Kyler Murray's not there, they don't play well, like we saw in Week 17 when they lost to the Rams. I just felt like when Lamar went down, it was kind of like that was it. Like that's the game. Like he is that offense because that team struggles a lot without him. They really could have used him throughout the whole game, and they really could have used the receivers to really step it up. The receivers also didn't do a very good job. I think Mark Andrews was targeted 11 times. He only had four catches, four to five catches, so he didn't have his sharpest game either. So for me, I just felt like the Ravens really disappointed this game when it really mattered most. I know you have a lot more to say, so I'll let you get to your thoughts.
All right. First, I just want to start with, man, stop hating on Lamar. Anybody that's hating on, stop hating on him, please. Look, he has compared to his peers around his age, Baker, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, even Joe Burrow. He has less offensive help than all of those guys. Seriously, I mean he's a good kid. He's 23. He's a little younger than Joe Burrow. He never gets in any trouble. He doesn't have any type of off-court issues. He's always supportive of his teammates, and he's just straight up a good person. I don't see any reason to, prey on this guy's downfall. It's ridiculous to me. I don't understand why there's such a massive hate bandwagon. Um, I'll never really understand that, but Lamar needs help. He didn't have his best game, but I'd only blame him for about 50% of this. The other 50% was the god awful O line. It was horrendous. Look, when your center can't even snap the ball correctly, I mean, you're not going to win the game. I don't know what's up with Makari and with uh, his name's not coming to me right now. Skura. I don't know what's up with either of them. They just got the yips during the middle of the season. They've had snapping issues, I'd say, since about like week 13 or so. Something's gotten into them, like psychologically. They just can't snap the ball correctly. Another thing that's gotten into somebody psychologically is Justin Tucker. He missed more field goals this game than he has in some seasons, which is just it's ridiculous to think about. But like, like he really whiffed on a couple of kicks that he should have hit that he normally hits. I don't know what was going on there. In my opinion, I mean, just I don't know how prepared the Ravens even were for this game. The defense was absolutely elite. The defense was absolutely elite. I have nothing bad to say about the defense at all. Um, but let me get back to Lamar real quick. So Lamar did have a really costly turnover towards the end of the game, which is a 101-yard pick six. But I blame that a lot on the red zone offense. Like you said, Mark Andrews had 11 targets. On any other team, Mark Andrews should not be getting 11 targets a game. But the problem was like he was the only one getting somewhat open. Like he was one of the few getting somewhat open. Hollywood got somewhat open occasionally too, but then once they doubled him, he was missing. He was MIA. This team really badly needs a Stephon Diggs type receiver. Uh, Someone like maybe like an Allen Robinson, just to come in, and Lamar needs someone to throw 50-50 balls to. It used to be Mark Andrews that he could do that to, but as of recent, Mark Andrews just sometimes he has butterfingers, sometimes he just straight up doesn't reel it in. He's very inconsistent with the 50-50 ball. If they brought in somebody like I said, like Allen Robinson, he could have a Stephon Diggs type impact on the Ravens offense in general. Now let me get to Greg Roman. His offense is so predictable. Fans have like recorded themselves calling out the plays from their TV before they happen. That's ridiculous. That's Steve Smith himself, the legend Steve Smith himself. He literally said the Ravens offense is elementary. And he said his 6-year-old could run the offense better. And he's not wrong. Greg Roman needs to adapt to do different things. He needs to run some more play action, needs to put more options out there. When you're just like snapping the ball and then passing it, that's not the way the Ravens offense is best utilized. The Ravens offense is best utilized by the threat of Lamar Jackson running. So if you try and force him to become a pocket passer, that's not his game. You're probably not going to win the game. So you've got to kind of copy a little bit of the Titans offense, run more play action, scare teams, run some options and whatever. So just scare teams into thinking this guy could take off right now, or he might be able to dump it off real quick to a receiver who could run for 15 or 20. They just need to stop abandoning the run the second they go down. I mean, Greg Roman literally, like, the minute they go down, and no matter like what the score is, even if they're down by 3, he stops running the ball. He just keeps throwing it. You don't. Ravens are the best rushing team in the league. Why are they going away from rushing, even though they're down by just 3, or maybe even 7, or maybe even 10, even down 10? They should still keep running as long as they have 2 or 3 more quarters left, because that's usually when they go down. They usually go down in the first or second quarter. Whenever they go down that big, keep running the ball. I don't understand why he just insists on throwing it when that's not playing to their strengths. He's just not bringing their strengths out of them. And like I said before, I mean, Hollywood Brown and Willie Snead, they're the only serious options at wide receiver. And once Hollywood's doubled, I mean, he gets taken out of the game straight up. Hollywood is a great number 2 option, but I don't see him as a number 1, not unless he gets seriously better over the offseason. And Willie Snead, he's nice for, being in the slot and all, but come on, like, he'd be a number 4, number 5 receiver on most other teams. He shouldn't be, one of our best receivers. And same with Mark Andrews. Once he gets double teamed, he really has a tough time overcoming that as well. They just, they need more. They need to go back to their 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets. They really do. I mentioned how last game they used Ricard at the tight end position a little bit occasionally, and it worked out really, really well for them. I don't know why they strayed away from that this game. I'm not sure if they just didn't think it would work against the Bills, but I really hope they grab a tight end somewhere in free agency or maybe in the draft or something. They need to be able to run those 2 and 3 tight end sets, because then it becomes even more unpredictable. Now you're wondering, okay, these tight ends can really block like a lineman. So are they actually going to run it, or are they going to dump it off to one of those 2? Then it makes it just even more unpredictable. And it helps in general. It helps the entire offense. Like I said before, the offensive line is absolutely atrocious. I credit that to obviously Yonda retiring and Ronnie Stanley going down really early in the season. I expect he's going to be back next season. I expect him to be good again. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just stuff that I've been saying since you know me. I've been saying this since last year. They need a better wide receiver. They need possibly another tight end, and they need a better center. You know, you snapping the ball is 50% of your job, and if you can't snap the ball correctly, you shouldn't be getting minutes, right? But then they bring in the backup center, and he doesn't snap the ball correctly either. So it's like, what's like something is going on psychologically in this team. I don't know what they need to do to break out of it, but yeah, man. I mean, when Lamar has no time to throw, it's really hard for him to win games. And people always criticize him for, dropping back in the pocket and then immediately starting to run. It's because for the most part, when you try and see from his perspective, most of his guys are like just completely swamped in coverage and the line is crumbling around him. He has to go. If he doesn't, he's gonna get sacked. Straight up. He has to run. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to Josh Allen, I mean, I don't blame him for only throwing 206. It was a really windy game. So accuracy with throwing was always going to be off. Even for Lamar, it was off as well. He had a couple of short throws. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't expect Josh Allen to repeat this performance. If anything, I expect him to really build upon it. Um, but before I finish this rant, I just want to say shout out to the Bills fans. Bills fans, y'all the best in the league, straight up. You guys are the best in the league. They raised, I believe it was like $290,000 for Lamar Jackson's charity in 24
Wow.
hours. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Bills fans, yeah, shout out to you guys.
Well, the Bills Mafia has always been really good about that because I think one time when they made it into the playoffs a couple of years ago, I think the Bengals spoiled the Ravens season and the Bills made it the playoffs for the first time in like forever. They think they also gave money to someone else's charity or something like that, or they typically like when they feel like they were helped to go further in football and all that stuff. They really do look out for the other team to help them out or looked out for the other people in general. And I mean, like you said, Lamar's a good dude, so them going to donate to his charity, it was nice. It was nice of them. But there was a couple things I wanted to say. My thing is about Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I mean, his performance was the better performance on the team. Like I said, the offense really is dependent on Diggs and Allen. So if those two, even if other parts of the team aren't clicking, such as the running game, I feel like they can still win next week's game potentially. But I do think that the run game really needs to improve because it can't just always be so dependent on Allen
Yeah,
and
I believe
Diggs.
Sean McDermott said that like um running like I think he was talking about when they were like up by a big margin, like why they would still throw. And I think he just went like throwing is our running.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Yeah, when I mean I think Devin Singletary had around 20 plus yards rushing, and that was about it. They really need. I mean, Zach Moss out with an ankle injury. They could have really used him there because at least he adds some kind of running as well. Devin Singletary hasn't really been that guy for the past few weeks. I'm worried about their run game going into next week's game because they really do need a more balanced approach on offense if they really hope to make an even deeper run and maybe a potential run to the Super Bowl. So we'll have to see about that for next week's game.
And I do want to end it on a couple things. So when you said, when you saw Lamar go out, you kind of noticed how dependent the Ravens offense was around him. I hope everyone else noticed that as well, because people that hate on Lamar are always talking about how he can't elevate his team when it matters the most. His team wouldn't even be in the positions they were without him. Like this Ravens team, their defense is incredible, but you can't put your defense out there for 40 minutes. And that's what would happen if we had an average quarterback. The Ravens defense would have to be out there like 90% of the game, and they wouldn't look good. And the Ravens would probably be top five or bottom five in the league right now. So, Lamar, he does deserve some of the blame for some of the decisions he made during the game, especially that pick six. But
Hmm.
at the same time, there's so many other issues. Like, we shouldn't even be harping on Lamar. Lamar's the least of our concerns right now, in my opinion. It all really starts with the offensive line, and it just goes out from there to the rest of the offense in general. The offense is horrendously anemic without Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is their
Yeah.
life support, like basically at this point.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting how they're gonna address things because I felt like a lot of stuff that you did mention earlier. When we watched that Titans versus Ravens last year's playoff game, I kind of felt like it became very apparent there, like you said, and I felt like they really didn't do a very good job addressing that issue in the offseason. Instead of, they drafted a running back, which is cool and that's good, and J.K. Dobbins was, good for them, but they could have definitely used a receiver. They could have definitely used another tight end on the other side of Mark Andrews. They could have definitely done more to bring in more offensive pieces besides a running back. Or, they could have definitely brought in another offensive lineman, a more higher caliber offensive lineman, but they really didn't do too much to address any of that kind of stuff. So, they're not really setting them up with the best personnel around Lamar. So I don't know what they're gonna do this offseason, but they definitely need to bring in somebody who can, like you said, they need someone that can to catch those 50-50 balls. They can really use somebody right now to do that for them.
I think the Ravens draft last year was very good. I think most of those players they drafted have turned into good rotation minutes for them. Especially like Patrick Queen, he's been fantastic. Uh, J.K. Dobbins was also great, but they didn't start him right off the bat, so his numbers are a little bit skewed. He doesn't like look as good on the season, but I think that was also a very good pickup. They did draft a couple of wide receivers, but they haven't used them much. They just kind of been using them on kick returns and punt returns. Devin Duvernay, I mean, he's fantastic at kick returns, so I see why they like to put him there. But I'd like to see them incorporate them into the offense a little bit more. Yeah, but I mean, like you said, and like I said, they need somebody to catch 50-50 balls. They could even use just a big body in the slot in general, which usually is Mark Andrews. He's usually their big body guy who can, get some receptions in the slot. Uh, but they really need somebody like maybe a Julio Jones even. Maybe they trade for Julio. Uh, but yeah, get well soon, Lamar. By the way, he's out. He went out with a concussion.